Hi everyone, welcome back to Caprine Cottage. My name is Anne and today I'm joining you from my studio in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. Hello everyone, welcome to another week. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here for a while, thank you for coming back. I spoke a little bit at the end of last week's video about maybe doing some sewing this week, and I can't stop thinking about this dress that I'm about to talk about. So I just decided I'm gonna try and make it. I don't know if I will have time to finish it, but we're gonna try. So the dress in question I found, I said before, but I'll say it again, through Lorna of Thread and Yarn. She's here on YouTube and on Instagram. If you like my content, I highly recommend hers as well. I feel like, yeah, I'm very inspired by her. I love her account. So if you like my stuff, you'll probably like hers too. But in one of her latest videos, she's wearing this dress, which is called, hold on, I'll have it here, the Zero Waist Gather Dress. And this is a sewing pattern. You can buy it online, and the person who made it, her name is Birgitta Helmerson. I hope that's right. I'm very bad at pronunciation. I'll show you just the diagram if you haven't seen it before. But what really drew me to this pattern was that it's a zero waist pattern. So you're pretty much just, it doesn't have pattern pieces and you're just like cutting rectangles. And then obviously there's some very simple shaping. But I really like the idea of having a pattern that doesn't leave a lot of fabric waste. As I've been sewing for years and years, garment sewing, and it is sometimes frustrating the amount that's left behind, and that's been a real kind of motivating factor for me to want to learn about quilting more, because I do have a lot of scraps. And so like you've seen my project bags, and those were all made from leftover, except for like the big pieces, but all the like quilted parts were pretty much made from scraps I had left over from other projects. So yeah, I love the idea of not having as much leftover. I also knew that I actually have quite a few garment size cuts of fabric right now. We all know Joann's is going out of business. I actually didn't go to any of the sales. Our store closed very early. There are still a few within about an hour of me, but I haven't gone. So hopefully I have enough supplies. Also, that's like a little intense. Like I think I have enough thread and that sort of things, and I have a huge button collection, so I'm not too worried about that part. Though I think it does need 9 buttons, so 9 matching button feels like I might not have it, but I might have 9 not matching buttons, so we'll see how that goes. Well, I definitely do. But I have some fabric here to show you and kind of talk about what I was thinking. So I'll start here with showing you the fabrics I have chosen, I think, that I'm gonna work with. First, this is just, it's gonna look black too. It's not very exciting. It's solid black. I don't know if I left this in last week's video, but Caleb's aunt passed away last year, which was really, it was a lot, but we obviously had to go through her things, and there was a lot of cuts of fabric randomly. I don't know, I've asked a little bit, but I don't know if she was sewing or using them for something else or just had them. So of course I ended up with them. And there's a beautiful cut of wool, there's some linen, and then there were these black cuts. There's another cut of this. And when I got them home, I pretty much just threw everything in the washing machine, which looking back maybe wasn't that smart. I didn't wash everything, like I didn't wash the wool, but everything else I kind of just washed. And I didn't look at them very carefully, and I just thought that this was either linen or rayon. There's another cut of like black rayon, so I just thought it was all the same. But then I went to get this out because I was like, oh, a black dress sounds really nice. I don't really have, like I have a couple black dresses, but they either don't fit so good anymore or one of them has a pattern. So I feel like a plain black dress is a practical thing that everybody could use and should own. So I was like, oh, I have that black fabric, I'll use it. So I went to get this out of where I had it, thinking it was either linen or rayon. And then as I'm like looking at it and touching it more, I start to be suspicious, and I'm like, I think this is silk, which I can't believe I put it in the washing machine, but it's over, it's happened, and it survived fine, so that's good. Because in general, my like whenever I have fabric, first of all, I pretty much only work with cotton and linen, so it's not problematic, but as soon as I get it home, I just put it in the wash and the dry, so then it's pre-shrunk. I don't have to worry about it. There's nothing more frustrating than deciding you want to sew something and then being like, oh, I have to go wash this fabric and get it ready and everything. But anyway, I'm pretty sure this is silk, or at least partially silk. I did a burn test and it's, you know, it definitely seems like at least partially protein fibers, if not 100%. So then I got nervous, which it's silly to think about because even if it is silk, it was free to me. So it's not like I'm losing anything if I mess it up, but also I feel, you know, I imagine, you know, I feel like I should respect this fabric and like do it justice. And I would love to have a dress made out of it. But so I think I'm not gonna start with this, just because I'm nervous to mess it up and then be sad. I also have, this is from Joann's. I got it months ago now. I haven't been sewing, but sometimes I have like a fabric buying problem. And it's just quilting cotton. I'll hold it up so you can see the print. This was really inexpensive. I bought it on a sale and it's like, Joann's has, well, I mean, I don't know, we're talking present tense or past tense, but they have like more than two, but at least 2 tiers of quilting cotton. And this is of the cheapest variety. I want to say this was like $2.99, $3.99 a yard, not very much money, but I loved this print. And in a way, it's kind of nice that it's the thinner cotton because I think it will be better for garment making. I actually use quilting cotton for making garments very frequently. I love a basic cotton dress. I like that it's washable, it's inexpensive, that sort of thing. But here, I'll hold up the print. Yeah, so I went through all the fabrics I had, and I had some other ones too that I had enough to make this with, but I figured this would be a great way to learn how to use this zero waste pattern, and it can be kind of like a mock-up. So if I end up not liking it, I'm not out so much. I haven't used the silk. I could use it for something else. I think I'm gonna like it, and also once I get a little bit farther in the process, like after I cut out the pieces and start assembling, if I like what I'm seeing, I might start to make the second black one in tandem, which is now behind me. I'm like pointing at nothing. So that's like the plan for this week. Like I said, I'm very nervous that I won't have enough time. So today's Tuesday, tomorrow's Wednesday, I have a class. Thursday, I have an appointment. This could be another situation like last week where the video comes out on Saturday. I hope that isn't too annoying for you guys. I feel like most of you watch on the weekend, but I don't know. I feel like some people watch Friday night. Other than that, I'm gonna press this blue fabric. I don't know if anybody cares, but I did find I have thread that I think matches quite well. So that's lucky. I'm so nervous now with not having Joann's, where I'm afraid if I run out of something, not fabric, I have fabric obviously, but if I run out of thread or interfacing or something like that, it's really gonna throw problems my way because I'm not sure if there are any local shops that have that to me. So maybe it will end up being a good thing because it will force me to find a local shop, but I'm not totally sure if there are any that sell those sorts of things. I have lots of yarn shops and things like that, but I don't think they have Sewing Notions, any of the ones I can think of. But also there could be a sewing shop I don't know about, so we'll see. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say. I feel like I'm rambling now, and I hope you enjoy this, and hopefully by the end we have at least close to a finished dress. Normally, as long as it's not too complicated, I can make a dress in a handful of days. So fingers crossed, thank you, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hello again. So it's so many hours later. This took me forever. I'm not totally accustomed to like not having paper pattern pieces. So it took me a really long time. I also had a slight issue with the fabric where I felt like maybe it was printed slightly crooked, but I had 2 cuts of fabric. It's a long story, but I ended up only cutting 1 piece from the cut of cloth that I felt was sort of maybe like something was wrong with how the flowers were printed on it. So hopefully that turns out okay. It just seemed like the print, like the decorative print, was not on grain, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I'm pretty sure it's the skirt back, so if the flowers on the back are slightly skewed, I don't care. But everything is cut and marked. I think in the long run, if I get used to this type of pattern cutting, I'm actually gonna really like it because you can adjust it for whatever size fabric you have, and I think that that's really nice. But yeah, it's like 3 o'clock. I've been at this for like 3 hours, so I have to go like take Feeny for a walk and just have a little break myself. I don't know if I will sew tonight. I might if I have like some extra spare time once Caleb gets home, but other than that, I'll probably do some tomorrow morning. So yeah, I will touch base with you when I'm doing something else. Hello everybody. So it's another day, it's the next day. I worked a tiny bit last night. I'll show you here what I did yesterday or last night. So I sewed in this little facing, and then wow, it seems hard to show. I put the back and the front together at the shoulder seams and at the body seams. I have my sleeves here ready to go. I will French seam those today, just now, like in a second. I had to do a little like shuffling with the pattern because I wanted to do the sleeve style that goes with size 1, and I'm making size 2 because of my fabric width. Pretty much your fabric width determines which style you make or which size you make. It's kind of confusing. But yeah, we'll see how it's going. I've already encountered a place where my like cuts are not square, so that's not great. But hopefully it won't matter too much. I squared up my edge a little bit and hopefully it will be negligible. At least this is like a big flowy style, so I feel like it's not as crucial that it's perfect, I hope. I feel like as I get older, or like as I continue to sew more and more, I become more and more of a perfectionist with my sewing, and then sometimes when I'm wearing something I made and I see that like a seam is not aligned perfectly, or I know something hangs weird, it just bothers me. But I'm trying to not care so much because I know nobody else notices. I'm going to keep sewing. I will try to keep you posted on how I get along. Today is the day of my class, but I decided that just because of how my week is arranged, I don't think I'm going to attend class live. I did that last week and it actually made my schedule significantly less stressful for me. So I'm trying to do things to take care of myself. I feel like my personality is to want to show up to every single thing I do at like 110%. And that leads me to often feeling like crap. So I'm trying really hard to be more mindful of taking care of myself and modifying my plans to care for myself a little bit better. So I'm sure that relates, some of you relate to that because I feel like it's a very human experience. But yeah, I don't know, we'll keep chugging away. I hope that I like this. I'm nervous. I tried on this like bodice, the top, last night over a tank top, and I hope it seems like it has enough ease. I'm a little nervous because, hold on. The size I chose, well, first of all, it said that it goes up, it's for up to a 45-inch bust, and my bust is 42, so that should be totally fine. Sorry, it's probably loud with the papers, but the finished measurement, so my fabric width was like 44 inches and this has plans for 43 or 45. So it's somewhere in the middle, but it should be somewhere between, like the finished circumference of the bust should be between 51 and 53 inches. So yeah, I don't feel like there's 10 inches extra, like 5 on each side, but maybe it's just, sometimes when you try things on and they're not all like put together, it's hard to tell. So, and I do know it's gonna get this like a button placket, which we'll add some. So we'll see. Don't panic yet. I'm also very happy that I chose to make it like a mock-up, a wearable mock-up. I never make mock-ups. I'm very bad about that, unless it's something very, you know, structured or something like that. But for a basic dress, I am not gonna be bothered by that. It does sometimes bite me in the ass, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm happy I chose to go with this less drapey, more simple to work with fabric for a first try, especially with the cutting, because trying to keep something shifty square, yeah, it makes me nervous. So anyway, I'll be back in a little bit. We'll do some sewing together. Hello again. So I don't know how many days it's been since I like came and talked last. I ended up just deciding to kind of work on this project slowly at my own pace. It just takes time, and I had kind of a busy week, so I want to take some pressure off me. But I did, since last time we talked, I made some progress. I put the sleeves in, which is often my most hated part of any garment, but this wasn't too bad. I have a little bit of puckering at the underarm, and I probably could do it again and fix that, but I'm not going to because I don't care. I think it's minor, and when it's worn, you don't see it as much. And so this is, you know, sewing rectangles together. It's pretty simple, but there's a little fiddliness to it, but I'll show you what I have now. Oh, hold on, it's gonna be hard to show. I'll show you just one side. So here's the front, and the sleeve is set in, and I tried to make it so the fabric print will be like, when your arms are down, it will be going the same way as the body. I'm not print matching, lining up prints at all, because it's just, with this cutting method, it's not possible, but I don't know if you can tell, the print is going the same direction. Yeah, so that's nice. At least I'm hoping that I can maintain that with the whole thing, the whole garment. Not totally sure if I can. They mention that in the pattern description, that things with nap or directional print would be harder to work with. This isn't really a directional print, but I'm just trying to keep it consistent. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have as an update. I'm gonna work on this a little bit, I think. Let's see, oops. My next steps are pockets, which it's really cool that this has pockets. I guess I didn't realize that right away. That's a nice addition. I mean, who doesn't want a dress with pockets, right? And then, so pockets in, and then gathering and attaching the skirt. So I would love, hopefully, to at least get those two things done, maybe. I don't know what time it is. It's noon now. So yeah, I want to work for like maybe an hour. So we'll see how much I get done. I don't know. Sewing takes forever. It always does. I don't know. It's also sometimes hard for me to get in the sewing groove, but then once I do, I don't want to leave, so I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk again in a little bit, and I'll show you what progress I've made. Hello, everybody. So it's been a while. I don't know how many days it's been since the last time I actually spoke to you, but I'm almost done. So here she is. I showed you, you will have seen before this, some clips before I sewed this button. I'm gonna call it a button band on. I have lots of things to say about this pattern, but I'll probably do like a little reflection section at the end. But the last thing I have to do now is just choose where my buttons are gonna go. I spent a huge amount of time yesterday picking out buttons. I'll take a video, but I'll insert a clip here. I have a humongous collection of buttons. I don't think that I have talked about this before, but I have my grandmother's buttons that my mom had. I have my mother's grandmother's buttons. And because people know that I sew, I have also inherited like an assortment of button collections. And so I was trying to choose buttons for this project, which is hard enough when you have, like, you go to the store and you can buy whatever quantity you want, but it's even harder when you're trying to find through unorganized buttons the amount of the ones you want. And this needs 9, which is a huge amount of buttons to find. And I had some like new modern buttons that I could have used, but they were kind of boring. And so I settled on, oh, I'm realizing that you're not gonna be able to see. I'll insert another clip of the up close of the buttons I chose. As I was looking through, I was like, I thought maybe red buttons, or then I saw that I had a ton of shell buttons, and I definitely wanted to do shell buttons. The ones I chose don't all perfectly match each other, but I think they're close enough that once they're on the front of something, you're not going to notice like the minute size differences. Maybe it will look cute that they're a little mismatched. I really like the idea of starting to work through my button collection a little bit. It's funny because part of me really wants to use them up, and part of me likes that they're their own sort of thing as a collection, like it's its own thing. So I don't know, it's challenging. But it seems silly for them. Some of them have probably sat in those boxes for, 100 years, literally. So it feels like they should get some use. Other than that, yeah, I'm just gonna attach the buttons and then try on, and then we can maybe reflect. So some things I guess that I'd like to say about this pattern. I did enjoy it. I do like the way it looks. I like the fit, though I do have to say that if you are like me and you have a fuller bust, this like depth or height, whatever you want to call this, is a little shallow. If I were to make this again, these bodice pieces, I might lower them about an inch. I know that it's supposed to fit high on the bust anyway, but I think on me, I would prefer for it to sit just a little bit lower, so that it's not cutting my bust in the way that it does. I kind of like that look too. It's kind of like baby doll look. I enjoy that, but I might just lower it a little bit. That's one thing. The other thing I will say is that I don't think this should be, I don't know exactly what this like is ranked as, but it's definitely not a beginner pattern. I think that if you were to try this and you didn't know much about sewing, it would be very difficult for you. I also think that I had to make a lot of modifications as I was working. Like I didn't follow the instructions exactly the way that they are written. I think there are more efficient ways to achieve the same thing in a lot of the steps. I'm not going to go into detail with that, but I do feel like if I've been sewing for years and years, and so if you didn't have the experience of making things, it might be difficult to make it happen, make it work. I also may have made mistakes. I don't know. I had to add about 3 inches to this button band in the back. Maybe I measured something incorrectly. I don't know, or maybe my seam allowances were wrong. I don't know what happened there, and it wasn't a big deal for me to just insert a little piece. I now have 2 seams at the back of the neck, not a big deal. It will be hidden behind my hair. But on the note of this button band, obviously the whole point of this pattern is to be zero waste, and so that you have pretty much no scraps afterwards. And there are pieces of that where I'm like, it's okay, there's a couple scraps. They put some scraps into places where I'm like, this was just a lot of extra work for not a lot of payoff, just because you didn't want to have to throw away these pieces. I get it. I totally understand the point of this pattern. The one thing I will say is, because this is cut on the straight grain, this button band, it's not cut on the bias, because obviously cutting bias wastes a lot of fabric. It's inefficient, but it serves a purpose. I tried very hard to get this to attach properly and to get it to lie flat and to not shift. However, I am concerned that as I wear and wash that this button band is going to pucker. And I thought about taking it off and putting it back on again, but the truth is I don't think that I could do it better again. And part of that is just that trying to make a straight grain cut per piece of fabric go around a curve is hard. The fabric, the weave of the fabric does not want that to happen. Yeah. So those are some modifications I would probably choose in the future. I might choose to buy some pre-made bias binding to do this front piece. I think that would be a very easy solution. I might just cut some bias binding myself from the same fabric or a different fabric and kind of allow for my yardage, to account for that. Again, I understand why the designer did that. They want you to be able to use your whole cut of fabric and not have scraps. And so that's why it's done this way. But I would say that it makes it more difficult. It makes it harder to achieve the finish you might want. Depends on how much you care too. I don't know how it's gonna wear. It might wear fine and not be a big deal. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I would probably shorten these sleeves. These are about 3/4 length on me, which is, it's great. Actually, it's like my favorite length of things. You can see I push my sleeves up all the time anyway. So unless I'm looking for warmth, a lot of the time it makes sense to have a sleeve that length. But I thought that these were gonna be more like short sleeves, and it might be there's like 2 sizes, which is more like 2 styles of this dress, and size 1 might have had the shorter sleeves, so that might be where I was at. Because I did also, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the modification I did was I changed the, width, volume of the sleeve to be the size 1 volume, so it's a tighter sleeve. Just because I didn't want a big billowy sleeve on this. I had extra fabric. but I want it to be kind of like a more practical garment. I do think if I'm going to make another one in that black fabric, which I'm still not sure about, I would probably make that puffier sleeve and gather it at the cuff and hope it would be, again, at this like 3/4 length. I think that'd be really, really cute. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this. Overall, it was an enjoyable project. It took me forever because I only sewed like 1 or 2 hours each day. I'm still not used to sewing and having feeny and not being able to just like work for 8 hours at a time. One of my biggest struggles is, I guess I'll just say, switching tasks. So it's hard for me to get a task started, and it's hard for me to stop once I do get started. So having interruptions breaking up my day is not great for my workflow, but it's also just sort of the way my life is right now. So yeah, I'm learning more and more each day and trying to be gentle with myself about productivity and getting things done. And now I have almost a dress. I'm gonna finish the buttons after this. What else? So this video will go up, you're seeing this right now on Friday, the 4th of April. And so I had planned for the following week to be when we did a live stream, because that's my like 1 year week anniversary. But I think I'm going to push that to the 18th. So you're seeing this today on the 4th. On the 11th, you're gonna get a podcast episode. I have so much to show you. I have so many projects on the needles right now. I am a crazy person. I don't know what I'm doing. I set some really firm rules with myself last year about whips, and I totally broke them all as of 2025, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. So look forward to hearing more about that. And then yes, we're gonna plan for the 18th to do some kind of 1 year, 2,500 subs celebration live stream. I may also put up a video that day as well. I haven't planned what that might be. I was thinking about maybe talking about spring knitting plans. Also, we have local yarn store day coming up this month, which is the following week, so you won't see a video about that till May, but there's just a lot of, I feel like spring is here and there's a lot of things to look forward to. So I hope you join me for those things. And I appreciate if you stuck it out through this video. I know that sewing is not the forefront of this channel, but it's a big part of my life and who I am, and especially as a fiber artist, as someone who works with textiles. So yeah, thank you so much. And if you did like it, please give it a thumbs up. That always helps me out. If you are new here, I normally post mostly knitting or spinning content. I definitely put up one knitting podcast every single month. So if that's something you think you'd like, or if you'd like to see more sewing content, please hit subscribe and stay and hang out with us. Like I said, we did hit 2,500 subs, so thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you're looking for me anywhere else, I am on Instagram, I am on Ravelry, I am on Goodreads, I am on Bluesky Flashes. That is so hard to say, and I'm not very active on there. I'm trying to feel out if I like it. I saw there's a new photo sharing app, I think, or new to me, called PixelFed. I think that's what it's called. Not sure if I'm gonna go there. There's so much turmoil in that space right now. But so look around. I'm mostly Caprine Cottage, except for on Ravelry and maybe Goodreads, but that's because those are older accounts. Oh yeah, if you've made this dress, have you made the zero waste gather dress? Please tell me how it went for you, some tips, tricks, maybe you figured something out that I didn't. But yeah, tell me about your experience with it. Were you thinking of making this? Do you like it? Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all I have to say, and I hope you join me next week for the podcast episode, and we'll talk soon. Bye.